said that her caution about having people associated with the school department on the committee is that when the process goes to the town, she doesn't want the committee to be in a situation where the public is saying, oh my God, look at it's loaded with school people, of course they're doing this. It's just a political thing, so it wasn't any, and she said, you can put whoever you want on it, but just know that that's a concern of hers.
It looks like we're going to have a broad spectrum of representation of the town, so
Right.
I don't think that'll be a problem.
And if Cliff and Jerry, it looks like the only two voting members will be Cliff and
Right.
Jerry. The other ones are non-voting from the school
Four
department.
non-voting administrators.
So,
Okay.
All right, that's the only reason why I came tonight.
Well, thank you.
To make sure Jerry shows up the 30th. Which is a Tuesday.
I'll be there.
We'll be here.
I'll be here.
Everybody else that wants to.
we do have this other form.
And we'll try to get something accomplished at least for town.
Yeah.
7 o'clock? 6:30.
6:30?
Yeah, 6:30.
And Dr. Mandel, you wanted to highlight?
Yes, the, thank you. Also in my discussion with Diane Sullivan, she asked me about the initial compliance certification, which essentially is saying that the officials in the town have read everything that they are required to read and that they're going to work on this project in a meaningful way. It doesn't, she would like this back in a timely manner. She didn't, there's no deadline on any of this stuff, but at least this goes back and they know that we're serious about it.
We should be able to do this without any problem though, right? I think Maureen has to sign it, you have to sign it, and Greg Falcones
Yes, right.
has to sign it.
Is that-
Yes.
I'll sign
So
it
we should be able to get that done in.
Okay.
30 seconds. Okay, there's an original signature on
Okay, thank you.
it. All right.
Yep.
All set?
Right.
We're all set.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chuck.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Race to the Top program. Dr. Mandel?
Yeah, I just wanted to keep you up to date. I got a fact sheet from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education about what the department is looking for from the people who agreed and filed the preliminary statements of interest. So it's nothing but an informational item. As the committee knows, North Reading did not favorably respond to the Race to the Top, so we're not going to be asked to do any of this stuff, but I just thought you might want to see what everybody else is going through.
Can I point out a couple of things on this? One of the reasons that, there were many reasons that we as a board voted unanimously, I don't think Jerry was here that night, to not pursue these grants. It's interesting when you look through this document that Dr. Manville gave us, many of the items, what will it cost to participate, they all talk about the state will contribute a part of the cost, and then basically you have to find the rest of the money in your own district, which is what we said. So this is the same old from the state and federal government. Let's do all these neat things, and we're not going to give you enough money to pay for them.
It's not mandated.
Yeah.
Well, except it's not mandated, and we opted out. I also want to point out that in yesterday's Boston Globe, there was a story, a state firm on school quality will reject U.S. standards if they don't measure up. So these are the new U.S. standards that we're going to be forced to adhere to if we want to get our Race to the Top money. Unfortunately, they're below the Massachusetts standards. So again, it's why we opted out of this program. It has no bearing on us other than to try to bring our education system lower than it's performing. So I feel even better about us not participating after seeing these two documents, the one from Keith and the one from the Boston Globe.
And according to Newsweek, the March 15th edition, our high school is in the top 1,500 in the nation.
Right.
That's putting that in percentage. It's in the top 6% in the nation.
I think we were 1,301, something like that.
I think we were 1,479,
Oh,
but I
that's
was trying to
Cliff.
avoid saying that.
Well, maybe we were 1,301.
We're one of
top
30
6%.
in Massachusetts,
Right.
which puts us in rather unique company since Massachusetts is at the top in the nation as far as school systems are concerned.
So we don't have to race to the top.
No,
We're
We
We're
might
already
have,
there.
we might have things we could share with some
I think if we
others.
went with this program, we might be sliding to the bottom. That's just just my opinion.
I like that slide you took on. Okay. New business. Dr. Campbell, we have the Martins Pond request.
Yes, the first item in new business is the Martins Pond Reclamation Study Committee. I met with Mr. McKay and Janet Nicosia last week, and basically, this is a grant-funded project that is supposed to help control the stormwater runoff that goes into Martins Pond.
How timely is this?
Yes, I know. And they want to put 2 storm drains up at the Hood School culverts, so that the water, instead of just going right across the parking lot into the river and down, will filter itself through the ground and get to Martins Pond much cleaner. All Janet was asking was that the committee go on record as saying they support this before town meeting on April 5th.
Is there anybody from Martins Pond here that does not want us to vote for this? Or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
They actually couldn't get here.
I actually sat in, I sat in on that presentation of the selectmen. I think you're, yeah, and there's a couple of areas they're gonna improve at the Hood. One of the problems is in the winter, the water runs off right across the parking lot and creates a permanent ice slippery situation, and they have to tend to it just about every day. So I think this is a worthwhile project that we should support. In fact, I'll make a motion that we support this effort by the Martins Pond Association.
Second.
Any further discussion? I'm pleased to see how they're going to incorporate it into the classes in
Right.
school.
Right.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Next item, Keith, is the Director of Pupil Personnel
Yes,
Services.
I just want to let you know what my plans are, and then if you don't like them, I'll regroup. As you know, Chris Danger, the Director of Pupil Personnel Services, is retiring on September 1st. And in order to be in the competition, I think, for the best candidates to replace her, we need to post this position very quickly. So it's my intention to post the position by the end of this week on School Spring. And we would run the preliminary part of the PPS director search concurrently with the superintendent's search as that gets into the final stages, so that on April 15th, when you name the new superintendent, we should know who the finalists are going to be for the PPS director, and then the new superintendent, assuming he or she at the time was interested, and I'm sure they would be, could sit in and have some input on the appointment of the new PPS director. So that's my plan, and if you don't have a problem with it, I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
There you go.
Everyone okay with moving forward with that posting?
Yeah.
Thank you. And lastly, the memorandum of understanding with the North Reading Police Department as it pertains to our new security.
Yeah, as you know, we have security cameras in both inside and outside school buildings, and there's been an ongoing discussion with the police department about having a memorandum of understanding that would allow them to access the cameras, either accessing the archived tapes or going to live feed, and the live feed one would just be in a lockdown emergency situation. The police department, I believe, gave Mrs. Vaca a memorandum of understanding, or no, I'm sorry, gave Wayne Hardiger a memorandum of understanding for us to look at, and the administrators and Mr. Venezia met with Chief Nolan and Officer Hatch on March 8th to discuss the document. It was a very good exchange, I thought, very positive ideas on both sides, and we took the document back and made some changes, and now have sent it back to the police department. Neither side has signed it. Neither side is, committed to anything. And we, it's in the packet, so you can have an opportunity to review it too. And if you see things you don't like or questions you might have, please give me a call. because once it's signed, it's in effect. So we just want to let you know what was going on. The other part of this discussion is that when we were meeting, the administrators were meeting on their own, we realized that once the MOU is signed, we're going to have to do a policy governing the use of stuff internally within the North Reading Public Schools, and we would do that with the policy subcommittee.
All right, but this policy is all about how the police will have access to the cameras, whether video recordings or live
Yes.
feeds, and what
Yes,
they would do.
it's an agreement between the school department and the police department for the use of the cameras by the police department.
Jerry, you were there. I read through this, and it seems like the current, I think to explain for the parents out there, the current draft we have right here gives us a pretty good amount of control in terms of the administrators, each school, and the superintendent working closely with the police department before they start viewing any video or cameras. At least that's the way I read this
Yes, I mean,
policy.
basically, the administrators were concerned about the police access to the cameras without the authorization of the school department, so that they're not just randomly able to look at the cameras either inside or outside the schools. So if the school department had a lockdown or an emergency, they would have to notify the police department. The police department would be able to activate and monitor. My feeling was that, I'm not sure if that's overly restrictive or not. One of the things that I considered or thought about was at least the ability for the police to monitor the outside of the school, say from dusk to dawn, something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't see a problem with that, and I thought it could be a good tool, a preventive tool, that they could use. But I think the concerns of the administrators, and certainly the police department, Chief Nolan, Officer Hatch, took them into consideration about viewing it and when they would be able to view it. And the other concern they had was, public access to the tapes. And I'm not sure that short of some type of court case where a subpoena was brought, that they would have, the public would have access to the tapes. So, but that was pretty much the discussion that we had. The police, again, extremely cooperative with the school
Very
department,
much so.
trying to work this memorandum of understanding out. But again, I just thought maybe it might have been, a more efficient tool if in fact we'd want them from, say, dusk to dawn.
With the vandalism that we've experienced
Right.
every year on those school buses, I would think it'd be a benefit, at least a detriment to thinking that
That would be my
cops are
only
watching those kids.
only recommendation other than what we have about this.
And it'd be nice to have it flexible if we go through a building project, to be able to have that heightened security on that site. So, to keep those in mind as far as assisting a building project.
And I think the key thing here, the policy as it reads now is that live feed from the system of the interior of the school will not be monitored while school is in session unless there is an activation of an emergency protocol or alarm that has been initiated by a school personnel, local emergency services personnel. So we won't have the police department just looking in on what's going on at the school unless there's an emergency activated, as Sherry mentioned.
That's the
I think that's
policy.
important.
That's the policy. Well, I don't know how important it is, but basically, the police department indicated they really had no interest in doing it other than if there was a criminal act taking place, a criminal investigation or an emergency. So it would have to come from the school administrators and or the superintendent.
Okay, special.
So do we need to approve this at some point, next meeting, or?
When the police department and the school department,
Looking at that.
Okay.
at our level, have everything lined out, yes, then we're gonna have to come back and have you
All right.
approve
All
it.
right.
But it'll be a final cleaner draft and all that.
Okay, great. Okay. That ends a regular part of our meeting.
We have to-
Want to do them now?
Yeah.
Get them over?
Get 'em
All
over.
right, let's get them over. We have bills and payroll, which.
They're all signed.
They're all signed. And we have minutes.
On the minutes in the open session, the only change I had was on page 2, under C2, the school calendar, under the motion that we took and approved. It says school calendar with before labor start day. That should say before labor start day for teachers.
Yes, just for teachers.
You're not gonna let that slide through, right?
Yeah, it's not for kids.
Not for kids.
Wanna make a motion with that change?
With that, unless anybody else is joined with that change, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 22nd open session as amended.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Karen can't second. You weren't present.
She wasn't present.
You're right, I was thinking of something else.
Oh,